Hey guys, it's Vampire Mike from Sega CD Universe. I just wanted to do a quick video talking about Twin Peaks Season 3 and my impressions so far. If you don't know what Twin Peaks is, to make a long story short, it was a show in the 90s that was very, very popular. And they just came out with a third season. I believe episode 13 was the one that aired last night that I watched. And I've watched every episode in Season 3 so far. Maybe not on the day it came out, but I've watched them. I DVR them. And episode 14 has actually already been leaked, I think, because in Germany they put it on demand on Sky TV by mistake. So if it hasn't been leaked yet, it will be soon, probably before episode 14 actually airs, which is kind of funny. So the main premise of at least season 1, this is now season 3, is that there's this girl, Laura Palmer. She's like the town sort of shining light, so to speak. You know, like everyone. You don't want to really call her a town sweetheart because she's really not. But she gets murdered. They find her wrapped in plastic on the beach. This like small town of Twin Peaks in Washington is very uneasy, and everyone is trying to understand what happened, and they're trying to piece it together. The FBI gets involved. And that's where they have Agent Cooper, Dale Cooper, Kyle MacLachlan, come in and try and figure out the mystery of who murdered Laura Palmer. Well, the first season is pretty much about who murdered Laura Palmer. The second season goes off the rails a little bit into aliens and supernatural type stuff. The first season is better than the second, but I like both a lot. And it was one of my favorite TV shows. I didn't watch the show when it aired initially in the 90s, but I did buy the gold DVD box set and watch the whole thing when it, maybe, 7 years ago or so. So I really, really loved it. I watched it twice, the seasons 1 and 2, and it's always kind of had a similar feel, even though season 2 was like weirder, that there are some dark moments of the show, but the characters and the situations can be very goofy, and it offsets it. There's an eccentricity to every character, like a weird sort of, like, no one seems completely normal. Everyone's got this strange little vibe going on, and that's always been, for me, part of what I really enjoyed about the show. That it offsets this kind of darkness with a goofiness, and I haven't really watched too much like that, movie or TV wise. So when I heard Twin Peaks was getting a season 3 now after, I think it's 26 years if I recall, because I think there's a reference to 25 years in the show, but really it's been 26. I was just so blown away that this show was actually coming back for another season, because I had loved the first 2 seasons. Now, I'm a big David Lynch fan. He's the director and the writer of the show, along with Mark Frost, who did, I don't know what's going on here, who did the Twin Peaks seasons with him. But anyhow, I'm a big David Lynch fan. He's done really great movies that are usually, again, very dark. Not much is explained, and you sort of have to figure a lot out for yourself or come up to your own interpretations. Those movies are things like Mulholland Drive, Inland Empire, which I didn't love but was okay, Lost Highway, Blue Velvet. Some of the movies are a little more relatable or understandable, where others are very, very abstract, and you sort of have to start piecing them together or look online and talk to other people about their, synopsis of certain things. So that's kind of always how he's been with most of his movies, bar things like the movie Wild at Heart with Nicolas Cage or whatever. So, and The Elephant Man, which, was great, but it's not his story. It's he just directed it, I think. So anyhow, that being said, when season 3 first came on the air, I was just like shocked that this was back. I had a shit-eating grin on my face. You hear the Twin Peaks theme song kick in. They show the water and everything, just like the old, episodes. And I was just like, I couldn't believe that one of my favorite shows is now back on the air. Excuse the bad line of sight here. I'm just trying to wedge the phone into my car. So, I've been watching it. Like I said, I'm up to episode 13 I just watched, And I gotta admit something, and I know this is gonna rub a lot of people the wrong way, but it's lost a lot of its appeal. And not because it's not a bad show at all, but not because it's still goofy but also dark, but because it's so dark and so boring in ways that it doesn't have that charm that the seasons 1 and 2, especially season 1. Thanks, Dick, for letting me in. You're an asshole. So, it doesn't have that charm that season 1 and 2 had. Most of the characters are interesting, I guess, but a lot of the old characters are making sort of like cameo appearances. They're either been in a very, very small part or just in passing, and that really sucks because when you watch it, you're like, oh, there's so-and-so. He was a major part of season 1 and 2. What's he going to do? And they're just standing around at a bar for a scene. Or there was one scene that there was literally a guy sweeping the floor for 5 minutes. And I'm sitting there going, all right, this means something. They're trying to show, like, this daily normal life, but some guy's just sweeping the floor. Who gives a shit? Now, the other thing David Lynch does, admittedly, is he puts little secrets in his seasons and his episodes where, like, a clock will be on a certain number, and that number's a throwback to some other number. So it's, like, interesting, but it's not stuff that I'm going to watch and pick up on myself while I'm watching on TV, because, I'm doing other things and sort of watching at the same time, usually. But it's lost a lot of its charm. The goofiness is pretty much almost all gone, minus the main character, which kind of pisses me off too. So the main character, Dale Cooper, he is an FBI agent, very quirky, loves cherry pie and coffee, and he talks about it like it's like, the best thing in the world. I love coffee too, so I get it. And he, he had these like little eccentricities again about him that made him likable. What they did at the end of, and spoiler alert, if you're going to watch seasons 1 and 2, at the end of season 2, he gets wrapped up into finding out like more about what happened with Laura Palmer, even though they know who killed her at this point, and what had happened. And he ends up in this otherworldly place called the Black Lodge. And the Black Lodge, you don't know if it's aliens, you don't know if it's demons, you really, I don't think it's fully explained, but he ends up there, and when you get there, there's people, or demons, or whatever, that can turn themselves into doppelgangers of you. And this is my interpretation. They don't ever fully explain this. There's doppelgangers that turn themselves into you, and they're evil versions of you, or opposite versions of you, or whatever. So, the doppelganger gets out, Dale Cooper gets trapped in the Black Lodge. He's been there for 30 years, and now he's gotten out, but his soul or his spirit or whatever has went into this other character named Dougie Jones, who looks like him but isn't really him. And he's a new slate. So all the quirkiness and fun and kind of bond you've created with the original detective is gone. Because he's like a child with no memory who doesn't even know how to do anything, and everything's just kind of falling into his lap. It was funny the first episode or two, but now it's really stupid, and we're almost done with the show, and he's still not regained his memory to being the FBI agent. So the show's just, it's okay, but it's really not doing it for me. It's actually tarnished how I feel about the show. And again, it's not to say it's a bad show or a bad season, it's just not a good season. If season 1 was a 10 and season 2 was an 8, this is like a 5 or a 6. Like, it's okay, but they've really taken out just so much of what made the show the show. And some people will attribute this to, I think Mark Frost didn't, I think what it was David Lynch had done part of something and Mark Frost did the other. I think Mark Frost did the directing and David Lynch did the writing. So maybe it had some like goofiness from Mark Frost that just isn't there as much now. I'm not quite sure. But I think most people, I'm going to rub wrong with this. Some people may think the same way I do, but don't really want to say it. And it just bothers them because I really did love this show, and it just seems like this third season is just completely off the wall. There was a book that David Lynch's daughter wrote, Jennifer Lynch, called The Diary of Laura Palmer. And if you're big into the series, I would definitely recommend it. It's an extremely dark book about Laura Palmer and her diary and what she did before she died. And she was like a nut job. She did drugs. She would go to like clubs and shit and get naked and have gangbangs in the woods while people like tied her up and like blindfolded her so she had no idea who she was sleeping with. I think she was working like part-time for some kind of a whorehouse. So there's a lot of like crazy shit, and it's very dark. And then there's a prequel movie called Twin Peaks Fire Walk With Me, which is also very dark. But again, you're still dealing with some characters that have this goofiness and fun to them that you've enjoyed. And even if they're showing the dark side of it, there's still some stability there, or something linking it to these characters. This series now doesn't have that, at least to me, any longer. When they show a big character like Bobby from Twin Peaks season 1 and 2, and he's like at a bar and he walks around and he goes on stage and sings a song, it's like, okay, like, I don't want to like throw it away because this last episode, he got up on stage, he sang this song, some woman in the audience was crying. The song is a throwback to season 1, or I believe it was season 1, of him singing it with Laura Palmer or Maddie, her cousin Maddie, and Donna, and whatever. So like there's some emotion and some heft to it, but it's also like, why is this like 10 minutes of bullshit? I don't know. I don't know if David Lynch is getting older now and his work is different. I don't know if he's done so many movies now, because it reminds me a lot of his other movies. It reminds me of like Inland Empire, where it's a strange movie with weird things happening, never fully explained, and then in the end you're like, I think I get it, or this weird crap happened and I think I understand it, and you kind of go online and talk to people, and you all come to your own ideas and you mesh them together, and that's half the fun usually of David Lynch films. But with this, I wanted more of a closed, like, this is what's happening, this is how it ended, here's all the stuff we never explained, or at least some of it. And so far I'm not getting that. And so far I'm not getting this whole Dale Cooper being Dougie Jones for like the whole season, and the character is just a dimwit, and I've had enough of him. So let me know what you guys think. Am I completely off base and you like love this season and you think I'm an idiot? Do you think you agree with me? Let me know in the comments section. I would love to hear from you guys. Thanks guys for watching. It's Vampire Mike from Sega CD Universe. Be good.